Welcome to Storytime in Hubbleville. Today we're reading Thurston T. Turtle Moves to Hubbleville, Chapter 4. Rude Interruption. As Mr. Frogson was shuffling through papers in an open briefcase he had placed on his desk, Mr. Possum knocked on his office door and then walked right in, not waiting for an answer or an invitation. "Goodness me, it seems that Thurgood Sea Turtle fellow is not at the inn," declared Mr. Possum, as if this was Mr. Frogson's fault. "Are you absolutely sure the inn is where he stayed last night? I mean, he wasn't reading the paper in the lobby or eating breakfast in the dining room or milling about the place." "Mr. Possum, why don't you leave Mr. Turtle alone? I'm sure he's very busy, especially if he's planning, as you say, to move into that old boarded-up house on Oak Street." Mr. Frogson had a lot of work to attend to, and he didn't especially appreciate the frantic interruption. No, you don't understand. I need to interview him. No one has lived in that house since the owner died 31 years ago. The story will make for quite an interesting feature in the newspaper, you know," Mr. Possum insisted. "Have you seen this Thurgood Sea Turtle chap today?" "Well, Mr. Possum, I did run into him earlier," began Mr. Frogson as he stopped rummaging through his briefcase. He then sat down wearily, realizing that Mr. Possum was not going to stop pestering him until he received a useful nugget of information. "You ran into him? You ran into him? Well, goodness me, where is he now?" interrupted Mr. Possum, clearly agitated. "He was on his way to see the house," Mr. Frogson offered, only to be cut off quite rudely once again by Mr. Possum. Thank you, Mr. Frogson. I'll see you later. Have a good day," Mr. Possum said as he rushed out of Mr. Frogson's office. "Good day," replied Mr. Frogson to no one in particular. Mr. Possum had already left the bank and was rushing down the street on his way to the old boarded-up house. I hope you'll join us for Chapter 5 of Thurston T. Turtle Moves to Hubbleville.